It's Monday, October 9th, 2023. Before I begin, I did want to make note of two things. One, they did swap out my door while I was gone on vacation, so that's a different door than in previous videos. And they did a really good job, actually. I was really surprised, pleasantly, because the old one, you had to like lift up on the handle and push in at a certain angle and direction for it to close without having to force it, and then it would make a really loud bang. So this one, it shuts, it just glides without having to do anything. It just fits. It's amazing. Anyway, I just am shocked. So that was cool. Yeah, and it's a new door, so I don't know. It's different. So anyway, that was nice. And the other bit of news while I was gone, when I was coming back, I noticed that the road that parallels the one that goes past this building on the other side has been under construction for like 2 years, and all the traffic that usually drives on it out to the interstate has been detoured onto the road that's next to the building. So it was just a lot of extra traffic at all times going past this building, and that's where my bedroom is right by the road, basically. And so that construction is wrapping up, and so they've opened up a section, and they're almost getting ready to finish and open up the whole stretch. So the detour will end, and all that extra traffic that has been going past my bedroom will now be on its regular road. And people they prefer that road anyway because it's a direct line to the interstate. They don't have to go past this road, which leads to a four-way stop, and then they have to turn left, and they have to go to another four-way stop. So it's less convenient. So choosy drivers choose the road over. So anyway, I'm happy about that too. Anyway, so this, now that we've already lost a great deal of anybody that would actually click on this anyway, because it isn't exactly entertaining, and it does not immediately capture anyone's attention. Just some random person talking about random things, which I understand. I can't imagine how much interest I would have for somebody just talking about things, and I have no idea or have no connection to them and no relevance and no significance. Why would it interest me? I don't know. I guess I would just be, curious, I suppose. Or maybe it's just different enough to, be engaging or entertaining or educational. I don't know. But me, I usually stick to, as far as my own watching habits of YouTube, I tend to watch other people play video games. Because nowadays I just don't find I have much time for it myself. Though I like video games a lot. I just cannot afford myself to get sucked in and involved and then dedicate so much time to that. Though I would enjoy it, it would become an obsession, and there's better things. I want to do other things. And anyway, this is one of those choices. Because that was the original thought about this channel, was to have it be a Let's Play channel where I would be playing the video games and narrating or commenting and doing the whole thing. And this was back when this channel was created. I was thinking about doing that, but then I discovered I'd like to just prefer watching other people play, because I had I was too preoccupied with other matters at the time, and I was less interested in actively doing things. I prefer just to sit and watch. And I'm talking about my drinking at the time. That's pretty much what I was all about, and it's very lonely because that's what I did. I would just drink and watch YouTube or play video games by myself or watch TV or movies, and that was it. That was life. That was I didn't have much of a social life at all. And yeah, that was truly, for me, I consider it truly sad. And, you know, yeah, so I don't do that anymore. Life has changed. And as part of that, now we're getting into it, finally, about quitting smoking. Because that, quitting alcohol and some other bad habits, I consider, that wasn't the only thing I've quit. But quitting smoking actually is my, it feels like my greatest achievement, I guess, or something that I've done that's improved the quality of my life in a significant fashion. The drinking alcohol, you'd think that would be the most important or greatest achievement, but that's only just given me the ability to live, and so it's like it's not a given, but it's not to be taken for granted or forgotten or counted less. But drinking was going to kill me, and I given an ultimatum and woke up to that fact. It's like, yeah, I think I'll just go ahead and give living a try, and without alcohol. And then further past that, the next step is, well, if I'm going to live, I might as well live better. So then that got me thinking about all the other things that probably aren't good for me, or I could stand to acknowledge and work on. So it did take me about 3 years into sobriety and recovery from my alcohol dependence and alcohol abuse. Sometimes it's just easier to call it alcoholism, but for the sake of anonymity and things like that. But I really can't say. I seem to have a strange case, but it's not about it's just easier for me to just quit. I don't have to worry about it. Like that whole first drink. If I don't pick it up, I don't have to worry about all the rest. Same thing with smoking. Am I a smoker? I don't consider myself a smoker, but when I was when I was smoking, but I didn't talk about it. And whenever anybody saw me smoking, even though I might have been around and smoking, they never really noticed until they noticed. And then they're like, "You smoke?" And they always seemed confused and surprised and disappointed when they learned or they saw me. And then I felt like I had to hide and then not be seen by them. And I always felt ashamed of it. And then I worried over how I smelled and what other people thought and things like that. And self-consciousness. And it was like a burden and shackles and addiction, nicotine. And yeah, I felt bad. Not just about it, but bad physically. And I wasn't feeling any better. I started developing a persistent, recurring cough and just congestion. And I was losing the ability to breathe freely. And so it took me 3 years into this life, in this place, thinking about it, before actually reaching that critical mass of a decision-making process and then acting on it. Because I'd wanted to, and I'd heard other people talk about it. It's like, oh, and they cough and cough and cough and smoke and smoke and smoke and talk about it, how they really need to quit. But then they did nothing about it, and they just continued to smoke and continued to talk about quitting. And they would sometimes make little efforts, and good for them if that's what they were doing, to try. And they might say that they quit for a day or two, or then they cheated, and then they went back, and and I could never tell if they were just they were making a concerted effort with or were they just seeking attention or something. I don't know. But when it came time for me, because I can hear them, they can hear me, and yeah, so my privacy feels like it gets invaded, but they don't mean to. It's just, they live there, so it's like I just hope that they make the, go into their apartment. They don't need to hang in the hallway and listen to me. So anyway, not that I'm talking about anything bad. Now I'm probably going to be talking in more of a whisper because I'm concerned about people. It is late in the evening, actually. The sun is actually setting out the window, so that's why I've shifted my position to be out of the light, because otherwise I'd be blinded. So anyway, I don't know what's more interesting, how I came to quit smoking, or how I started smoking in the first place, and how it got me. And I was thinking about that before I started. And I was thinking, how long does that take to tell that story? So I decided, well, I'll just go ahead and do it. And, it is what it is. I guess I started smoking. I think I tried my first cigarette from a pack of cigarettes that I'd noticed that my brother had in the downstairs laundry room, because he got started smoking, I think, when he joined the military. Or maybe it was before then, I'm not sure. But that was my first. And I wasn't sure exactly how to light it, and I wasn't sure how to smoke it either. But I figured it out. But I didn't really, I just kind of made a mental note of it because I didn't like it. And that was it. And then that one experiment, and that was it for me. And it wasn't until later when I felt that, I don't know if was it conscious or unconscious, but it was more socially acceptable and available, and I didn't have to worry so much about who saw or who knew, because I was a brand new person in a brand new place when I went away to college. And I don't think it was right away. Maybe it was my first year, second year, I don't know. But friends with and roommates with, and a person whose girlfriend smoked regularly. And I don't know exactly how it came to be that I started borrowing them every so often when I'd be out drinking or at parties or whatever, or social events or bars or any place. But it became really attached to drinking, and then smoking became, and then it just was like, well, I'll just start buying my own to save myself from having to borrow, which I don't know about borrowing. So then it just became a thing, and I smoked Marlboro lights, and it just became like nearly a pack a day at the time. But the cost was, when I first started, packs of cigarettes were $2.22 when you bought them 2 at a time at this one particular store in my college town. Other places it might have been like $2.50 or $2.60 or something. I don't know. It was a long time ago. And yeah, and that's how it goes. And I smoked for a year or two at the time, and then I didn't like smoking as much, and I tried to quit. And they had this other form of tobacco product called Eclipse cigarettes, and they were a kind of cigarette that they didn't have a filter, and they didn't burn the tobacco. Instead, they had some sort of special carbon fiber tip or something, which you lit, and it burned, or it got superheated. And the thing was, it was supposed to, like, the superheated tip you would draw air through that tip, and it would, like, leach out the nicotine from the tobacco, but it wouldn't burn it. So it was supposed to be the healthy alternative at the time. And yeah, and it didn't burn, and it didn't put out that smell of burning cigarette smoke. So it didn't smell like a cigarette. And that was the thing for me. It was like stealth and camouflage. I wouldn't smell like smoke, but I could still get my nicotine. And but they were really expensive at the time. They were like, and I had to order them online, which was still kind of new at the time. Ordering things and having them shipped. eBay was even kind of brand new at the time. and I had been playing around with that, but already that was kind of gotten a little bit old. But anyway, and so I did that for a while, and then I went back to smoking Marlboro Lights when, you know, I don't know. And eventually I got tired of the whole thing. And it might have been my senior year, I'm not sure, or fourth year in college. And I ended up quitting altogether and just switched, had gum, Nicorette or whatever, or the off-brand. And I successfully quit with just gum, because I had tried patches, and patches didn't work out for my skin, because my body just has a adverse reaction to the adhesive or the nicotine or the whatever is in it. And just the area where I put a patch would just get red and perspire, and it would just sweat off as a, like, hey, there's something wrong on your skin. Here, we're going to help you, and sweat it off. So my body just didn't like that, and it felt like a waste of money. And also I was having different side effects, which I didn't like, with the heart palpitations and a little bit of anxiety and some dream stuff. And it's like, okay, I'll just stick with the gum, which I can regulate a little bit easier and consciously. And you know, they talk about swapping out pieces every so many hours and then dropping it back. And I would usually, I didn't go through gum like that. I would usually swap out a piece or two, even from the beginning of quitting, and then forget about it, because I just felt like I had that comfort of, even if it was a placebo, that comfort of having something, and then the oral fixation kind of thing too, where there's something, you know, and I can, if I start to think about a cigarette, I can just chew this piece of gum, and then relocate it to some other pocket, and then have that, and I'm okay. And it might tingle or have a little sensation of burn, which is, you know, the what you associate with, I'm getting something out of this. And anyway, and then eventually I just gave up on the gum, because I was like, I think I'm done. And I was, for about 2 years or so. And then I was finished with college, I was back home, and my brother was out of the military, and we were living at the family house together, and you know, we were working at different jobs, and sometimes at the same job at the same place, and overlapping lives and schedules, and we'd hang out quite a bit. My brother was kind of my best friend, and had been off and on for my entire life, and might still just be that today. Yeah, and so I remember we were downstairs, which was his area, was downstairs. He had just taken over the first floor of our house. And we were just watching movies and drinking. That was mostly about what we did. And yeah, he was smoking Marlboro menthol lights. And for whatever reason, enough drinks and enough hanging out and enough, you know, and I decided to borrow one for old time's sake. And I enjoyed it so much, I think like the next night or the night after that, I decided to have another one for old time's sake. And then another one, and another one, and another one. And I was having more than one. And I decided to stop bugging my brother and just buy my own, and I would ration them. And, you know, it led to just being back to a pack a day. Except now it was Marlboro menthol lights. And I tried Marlboro lights again, and I didn't like them anymore. I was like, I guess I just am now Marlboro menthol lights. And I couldn't imagine, how did I even ever like Marlboro lights? It's because that's what I was introduced to. That's what I thought cigarettes and I were supposed to. Anyway, that's how I got started again. And then I was smoking for, skip forward, 12 years or so, smoking about a pack a day. Sometimes a little bit more, sometimes a little bit less, depending on how long I was conscious during that period. Because my drinking at the same time was escalating and getting really, really bad. So nothing fun here. It's nothing to be proud of. And I probably feel more ashamed or humiliated you know, about this sort of stuff, except for the fact that I don't do it anymore. I'm not cured. I just don't make those same decisions, and I don't behave in the same way, and I don't require that sort of emotional support and conditioning to feel normal, because that's what, you know, I'll try to stay focused on smoking because I'm already at 20 minutes. I wasn't smoking any longer for the longest time to feel good or to feel better about myself. I was just smoking because it was what I accepted as normal, and it, you know, I didn't feel, smoking became about not feeling bad and to maintain some level of not feeling like, you know, I have, it's like, because I was on a clock, I was on schedule, I had to smoke at certain times, and if I wasn't able to smoke, I would just start getting upset and frustrated and angry that I need to go smoke. And even after I smoked, I was thinking about the next smoke, even if it's like, I was, it was really bad. So, back to quitting again. So 3 years into recovery from alcohol abuse here, I'd been thinking about it for a while, and it was around this time of year. It was towards the end of September, and I got a cold. And this was 2019. And I don't know if it had anything to do with it, but you know, it was before the pandemic, before coronavirus and COVID, and I got a cold in September of that year of 2019, and actually I had it twice, and I also had a speech to give, a lead as they call it, where I tell my story of what happened, what it was like, what happened, and what it's like now in terms of recovery from alcohol abuse. And I had lost my voice because of the cold, and I was still smoking, and I wasn't getting anything out of my smoking any longer, and I'd been wanting to quit. And I had this speech to give, where I had to stand up in front of a room of people at a podium and talk for an hour. The whole thing takes place over an hour, but I'm usually only supposed to talk for like 30 to 40 minutes. So it's like, it's a good amount of time. And I decided, well, I want to be able to represent myself fairly well, and smoking's not doing anything for me, so this is a good time to quit. So anyway, so around that time period, I decided that, you know, I was kept like, is this my last pack? Is this my last pack? Is this my last pack? And it's like, about 2 packs into my last packs, I just didn't buy more, and I didn't have it. And on September 27th, 2019, I smoked my last cigarette, and it was right before I went to sleep, and just was like kind of aware of it, and I hadn't bought any more, and I was just out. I didn't have any more, and I wouldn't have any more unless I stopped somewhere and picked up more and bought more. But that would require me to make a conscious effort and decision to stop or leave my apartment early, so I'd have enough time to stop and make a purchase and then smoke before going into work. And so it would involve a trip and extra time, and there's all these little mental fail-safes that I would have to go through. It's like, am I really doing this? I said I was going to, and I'm not doing it. And it's like, if not now, then when? And I've got the speech, and I'm sick, and so that next morning, September 28th, I made it to work. I didn't stop to buy any more. I had the gum, because I already planned ahead, and I had the gum, and I was using the gum, and I was like, this has to work. This is going to work. But I got to work that morning, and I looked around the car and wanted to make sure. It's like, well, I hope I don't have any cigarettes left. And I looked at the empty packs, because of course that's what you do. And I looked around the car at the empty packs to make sure I didn't have any left, because that would, I don't know. And I was like, good, that's empty. Good, that's empty. Good, that's empty. I had like a couple. And then I got to the last one. It was inside the door. I wasn't sure how long it had been there. And I looked and there was one in there. And I was like, dang it. got a cigarette, and I'm here at work, and I can't waste it. And I started thinking, it's like, well, I guess I could, maybe tomorrow, but then I'd have to buy some. If I have one, then I'll have to want more, and then I've got and then I destroyed it. I had it, and I was like thinking about it, and I was like starting to really shake, and I was like, my determination was floundering, and so I just crushed it, and then it was destroyed, and for a second there I was like, can I put this back together somehow? And it's like, no, it's just gone. So that removed the decision in that moment, and then it was just a whole series of moments after that, and all it required was me to not buy any, and ignore people that were smoking around me, and not ask for one, and not let them offer me one. And I don't tell people when it's like I'm not going to talk about quitting, because people will then ask, and it's like I don't want them to ask and to check on me and just to test me. And sometimes people will offer. It's like, oh, it's like, how? It's like, So I mostly just stayed away from other people that smoke, which did involve cutting out a fairly large segment of some of my social group. People that was where we hung out. That's where we talked. That's where we shared stories and what was going on. It's like in those little smoking circles. And I now had removed myself from those smoking circles, those little cliques. And I had become, I didn't realize that I was starting to become a stranger to those people, because I didn't smoke anymore. And I didn't want to be around them because they smelled like smoke. And they didn't see, and I was, they were content with their smoking. And no one seemed to, it's like, it's like I was able to just walk away from it. And it's like I wasn't missed enough. And it's like, so it's like my little personal crusade or cause to work on. And I was doing it by myself, for myself. And it's something I have not regretted. Because I used to measure all of my time as in between cigarettes, just like I had done with my drinking, was in between drinks. Even with a drink in hand, I was thinking about my next drink and how much I had to drink, and if it was enough, and then did I have enough time before work, and when I was going to sleep, and would I sleep enough off to wake up with the ability to drive and function. But with smoking, it was the same thing. I was always thinking, do I have enough for the day? Do I need to stop? And it was just a pain, always with the counting and the schedule and the maintenance and the upkeep and the emotional turmoil and disarray, because I was always on, different ups and downs and mood swings. And now it's just, I still have all those ups and downs and mood swings, but it's just me. It's not about alcohol. It's not about nicotine. It might be about sugar, but I'm working on that too, or caffeine, and I'm working on that too. Dramatically reducing the amount of caffeine and sugar in my diet. The battle doesn't go well. Caffeine, I'm doing pretty well on, but sugar, that's tough. And so sometimes at work, I am getting a bit cranky, and I wonder, is it because I haven't had any sugar? And it might be, I'm not sure. But I'm still set on I'm not bringing snacks into work, and I'm not bringing coffee into work. So anyway, quitting smoking has been my favorite thing that I've quit recently in the last couple years. I think it's the most difficult too, because I still get cravings. But quitting is difficult, and I never want to have to quit again. So as long as I don't pick up one, I don't have to worry about it. So